This show in the universe. I'm your host Zion, and this is another edition of our weekly discussion podcast. So, today we're going to be doing things a little bit differently. I'm constantly changing the format to try to figure out what exactly is the best way to go about doing this. So, sorry about that, Yoji. Didn't mean to interrupt you when you're dancing, but what I did last week was I ran matches while I tried to talk about this week's discussion, but this time around, because I think that kind of gets a little bit distracting, I'm just going to talk about the discussion, and then if there's time after I've already said everything I need to say, then we'll do matches later on. So first, we'll just jump right into our discussion for today, which is guilds. So a lot of new features for guilds are planned, so let me go ahead and actually jump into the guild that I've joined to do this video. So, I'm actually not really a part of any guild right now. I only joined this guild so I can do this video to help give you a little bit of like an infographic so it can, help better explain some of these topics that we're going to be discussing today. So I actually got a list of different things different points to bring up during this discussion. So the first thing we're going to talk about is actually private guilds. So if we actually go to leaderboards and guilds, you'll see that every guild type here is public. Currently, as far as I'm aware, there's no way to set your guild actually to private. So the first thing that I'd like to implement is to give you the option to set your guild to private. Now, what that's going to allow you to do is make certain prerequisites in order for people to join your guild. So, for instance, maybe you want to have a specific kind of like point total for characters to be able to send kind of like applications in order to join your guild. So, if we go to leaderboards again and we go to, leagues. So maybe you don't want anybody below, let's say, gold. And I think currently the amount of points is required to get into gold 3, I think, is 6,000 points. So you would be able to set it to 6,000 points, and anybody who doesn't meet that requirement cannot put in an application to your guild. So you can set it as high or as low as you want. So you would be able to set it as high as, let's say, potentially like 10,000 or something. And that way, anybody who's under a certain level, and let's say platinum, won't be able to actually place an application. So now, because players are going to be able to send in applications so they could be approved or denied, you're obviously going to need somebody to actually review the applications and decide whether or not they want to actually allow them to join their guild. So we'll go back to go back to profile and my guild. So the idea here is the guild master is going to have the ability to make certain members of the guild have higher positions over the others. So kind of like guild moderators in a sense. So if you actually go here, as you can see your rank, this is entirely based on your activity and what you actually contribute to the guild. So you actually gain points and it helps rank you up. So you have novice, private, corporal, sergeant. But this is based on activity. So potentially somebody can play a lot, like they can contribute a lot to the guild, but maybe the guild master doesn't quite trust this person, even though they're very active in the guild and contributing a lot. Maybe they want somebody who's like a close personal friend or something, somebody they can trust to have this kind of authority within the ranks of their guild. So what they will be able to actually do is maybe like right click on somebody and you have like add friend, but maybe it'll be like promote to maybe like guild moderator, or maybe you make a unique rank. So we have like private, corporal, sergeant, lieutenant. Maybe you make something like, okay, you do have captain, but maybe a title like this, and you give it to them. So you have commander? No, okay, you do have commander. So maybe like admiral or something. I don't know. Invite you to a party. No, I can't do a party right now. You're distracting me. So they would be able to have different ranks, and different ranks would have different permissions associated with that rank. So maybe you would have like regular players, which won't have a defined rank, it'd just be like regular, and then maybe there'll be one or two other ranks. So maybe like the second next rank will be somebody who is allowed to permit players to join the guild. So they'll be able to review applications, and they can either accept it or deny it based on whether or not the players actually meet the criteria or whatever they want to set the requirements to be for that guild. So then the next tier up will have even greater permissions, which we'll get to in a moment. But right now, I'm not aware. You see this dark blue square kind of right here? This would be a perfect place to write like a guild bio. I'm not sure if it's currently an in-game option that allows you to do this, but I would have, similar to if you go to profile, you have like this little pencil and line here. So this is like an edit option. I would have one right here, and then you'll have like a maximum of, I don't know, like 300 characters or something, and you would be able to write like a short guild intro or bio to describe, you know, the purpose of the guild. And then likewise, another thing players have been asking me is whether or not it's possible to change the name of your guild, and currently it is not possible. But again, just like how you have the pencil and line here for your name, because you can change your name, you can add that next to the guild, so you can put it right here, or maybe move this down here and then put it right here next to the guild name, and you would be able to change your guild name. Now, to prevent people doing this too often, you might do something like the first 1 or 2 times might be free, and then after that it might cost gems. So you might set it to be, I don't know, it might cost you like 100 or 200 gems or something to change your guild name after that. So you would be able to change your guild name, you would be able to edit your guild bio. Now, both of these things, now going back to the whole idea of having these different hierarchies of permissions, is that only like the guild master would be able to do something like a name change, but maybe like a guild bio could be something that could be edited by the next tier below that. And likewise, so one of the common complaints that I've also seen is a lot of players will say something along the lines of our guild master or our leader is inactive. You know, they invited me to this guild, and since then they haven't been, you know, in game actually. They haven't been active. So if you have these different permissions, and only the guild master can assign these different permissions, and the guild master is no longer active in the game, then who is going to be able to actually take over the role of the guild master in order to assign these different ranks and permissions? So another idea I had in order to address that issue is you would have something along the lines of if a guild master has been inactive for, I don't want to make it less than 2 weeks, but I also don't want to make it too long. So we'll say something like between 2 weeks to a month, so 2 weeks to 30 days. If they've been inactive for a certain amount of time, what will happen is the guild master position will automatically go to the next highest rank. So if there's somebody, again, let's say we have guild master, then you have like guild moderator, and then something below that, it would go to one of the guild moderators. And another thing is, you don't want to have a situation where you can appoint like literally every single person in your guild with a guild moderator, because then you have people constantly fighting with one another, removing privileges from one person over another. So you don't want to have this sense of infighting. So these different ranks would only be available to a maximum amount of players. So the next tier below, like the leader, would only be available for, let's say, 1 or 2 players. So only 1 or 2 players can actually fill this position. And then the next one or that might be available to 2 or 3 players. So you could have potentially like 5 players that more or less help manage the guild. So the idea is if the leader is inactive for a certain amount of time, their privileges would be automatically given to the next runner-up. So the next, you know, moderator, the second in command, essentially. And let's say, because right now everything is public, because this system has not been implemented yet, there's no second command in order to inherit these privileges. So what you would do temporarily as a fix is you would have to go to rank here, and it would just go to whoever is currently the highest rank. So we'll take, for example, I think it's probably Derp in this guild. Yeah, actually, matter of fact, now that I look at this, this is actually good. I think it already has these ranks in descending order. So the person with the highest rank is going to appear at the top. So this would imply Digital Chaos is probably the leader slash creator of this guild, and Derp has the highest actual rank. So that rank is the equivalent to Major. So what would happen is, let's say Digital Chaos will assume that he's the leader. If he's inactive for, say, 30 days, maybe 60 days, something like that. Again, I don't want to make it too long. I don't want to make it like 90 days or 100 days or something, but like a month sounds about right. So what would happen is this position, Guild Master, would automatically go to Derp because he's like the second in command. He's like the next highest ranking up. And that's how things will work for the transition, because right now there are not private guilds. So right now there are no different privileges and stuff. So that will work temporarily until the private guilds feature is implemented. I'm sorry, Adrian. I'm a little busy right now. Maybe later. So then what would happen is once the private guilds are actually implemented, the guild master would assign different ranks. And let's say the guild master doesn't assign anybody ranks. Maybe he doesn't trust anybody. He doesn't give anybody guild moderator or whatever you want to assign the actual title for the ranks to be. Then again, it would work in a similar fashion, which is go to the next highest rank up. So in this case, it would be Derp, who's a major. So I think that covers quite a few things, actually. Let's see. Okay, private messages. That's another thing. So we'll go into chat now. So one of the things I was doing in researching features that we can potentially implement is a guild chat, but as it turns out, we actually already have one. But one of the things players have been requesting a lot lately is the ability to actually send private messages. So there isn't... No, I'm sorry. You know what? Actually, I'll get into that in a second. I was going to interrupt myself and talk about another feature that I want to implement, but let me finish this current thought first. So you have global, so this is the actual public chat, and then you have a guild chat. What you could potentially do, there's two different ways of doing this. You could have a third chat for private messages. So what you would be able to do is, let's say, left click or right click. Left click or right click, so this would be left click. So you'd be able to do this two different ways. You could either left click in the actual game chat itself. So how this normally works is you click off to the side and you get this list of options. So you can invite to party. If someone's on your friend list, you can remove them from your friend list. If they're not on your friend list, you can invite them. You have report player, ignore, mute, copy. So what you could potentially do is get another option for private message. And if you don't want to click somebody who's already active in the chat, so let's say they're in your friends list or in your guild list, but they haven't said anything, so you don't have the option available to actually click on them, you would be able to do it right from your actual friends list and guild list here. And what you could do this in one of two ways. Either their message, the private messages, would be posted in just a regular global chat, and it would just have a different background to contrast it from the different other replies. So we'll just use this as an example. Because I'm a game master, I have this different unique background, which is like a shade of dark purple. So what you could potentially do is, and also game moderators have a background of blue. So Lucas, for instance, who's a game moderator, when he speaks, he has a blue background. What you could potentially do is when you private message somebody, they'll get a unique background like this that will appear to differentiate it from the rest of the people actually speaking in chat. Now, the problem with that is, what if somebody's offline? If somebody's offline, they might not even catch the private message altogether. So it might be a little bit better of an idea to have an actual third option here for private messaging. This way you can talk to people even when they're offline and, say something like, leave a message, and then when they come back, they'll be able to see that you'll have like a red exclamation point as if the chat updated, and they'll be able to check it and see that somebody messaged them. Now, the problem with that is if you have one option like global and guild, if you have a third option here with private messaging, what happens if you private message multiple different people? Are all these different people's messages all going to be collected in the same spot? So that's a little bit of an issue. Maybe people won't mind that. Maybe people will only private message a few people at a time so that things don't get lost in, like, let's say, multiple replies. So it doesn't get like lost in like spam or something. But another idea that I've had and a lot of people have been asking for is some kind of mail system. So let me actually reorient the planet to get it back to like its initial position. When you actually go to build, we've added this recently, the mailbox. I actually haven't built it yet, but as far as I know, the mailbox doesn't actually have an in-game function yet. So the plan would essentially be this, is either the mailbox would be something that's already pre-built on your planet, so that this function is already pre-made, because I don't like the idea of having to build a mailbox to unlock this function, but maybe the other developers might want to have like this extra level of investment in the game, so you have to unlock these features periodically instead of having everything kind of given to you at the beginning of the game. But the idea is you would have the mailbox, and the mailbox would function as like a mail system. So you would be able to go into chat, and maybe you would have like a mail option, or it doesn't even have to be its own option over here. It could just be as simple as right-clicking or left-clicking a name over here, and you would have another option in the drag-down list for mail. And you'll be able to have like, kind of like, we'll go back to the guilds real quick. Try to get an idea. Oh no, not leaderboard profile. So you would have something like this. So it'd be like, the background would be light blue, but the part where you actually get to type would be dark blue like this, the contrast. And you would have like a maximum of, say, like 500 characters. And you would be able to write whatever you need to write, and then send mail, and then the next time that person logs in, what would happen is, just like how you have this kind of update here, so it says it's been one message since I've last viewed the chat, you would have like an exclamation point, you would be able to click on it, and then maybe you would have a mail icon here, and then you can click on it, and then you can read any mail that's anybody sent you. So another thing that you could potentially do with mail is send gifts. So I wouldn't want to make this too broken where you can send people like a whole lot in a single mail. So, well, for instance, look at myself. I have 7,000 roughly gems. I wouldn't want to have the ability to be able to send that full 7,000 to another player. That might be almost like cheating. So like one player can invest a lot of money in the game and then simply trade over all that money to another player to give them kind of like an unfair advantage. So maybe you set like a limit where you can only send 100 gems per day or something like that, but you would have like a gift system where you can send like as an attachment, like a little gift box, and when the player opens their mail, not only will they have a message, they'll be able to open that little gift box and receive their gift. So it could be like Acquium, it could be Unicoins, it could be gems, and it could also potentially be in the future scrolls. So this is another thing that we've actually been talking and discussing behind the scenes about, is potentially adding a trading system into the game. And initially the idea was it was going to be specifically for guilds. So I'll go back into my guilds real quick. So the idea was going to be able is you were going to be able to do this, like right click on somebody, and you would have the option to enter a trade. And the way this was meant to work, well, what just happened? Did I just add somebody? Oops. I'm not sure what I just did. Anyway, so the way this was meant to work is you were able to enter a trade, and the idea was to have some kind of exchange rate where you would be able to trade scrolls for Unicoins. So the idea was to come up with some kind of exchange. So for instance, let's say 5 regular scrolls. So we'll go to spells real quick. So these here, these grayed out numbers, these are regular scrolls. The idea would be like you could trade 5 of those for like a single Unicoin, or maybe you can trade a rare scrolls, so this right here, the blue ones, you would trade 5 for those, and maybe you would get like 5 uni coins. So the ratio for regular would be 5 to 1. For every 5 regular scrolls you trade, you get 1 uni coin. For blue, it would be a 1 to 1 ratio. So for every 1 blue scroll you trade, you get 1 uni coin. And then for purple, it would be a 5 to 1 ratio in the opposite direction, where for every 5 purple scrolls, because they're so rare, these are epic tier, you would actually get 5 uni coins for each scroll. So it'd be 5 to 1, or no, 1 to 5, 1 to 1, 5 to 1. So 1 to 5 for every 1, or for every 5 scrolls, you would get 1 uni coin if it was common. For every 1 blue scroll, you would get 1 uni coin. So you would have like a minimum amount that you could trade, which would be like 5. So 5 blue scrolls would be 5 uni coins. And for purple, which is epic tier, for every 1 you get actually 5 uni coins. So for 5 epic tier scrolls, you would get 25 uni coin. So that was the initial idea, that it was going to be an exchange system to trade scrolls for uni coins. I kind of, I guess you can say, optimize this a little bit. I've made it some suggestions, some changes. So the idea is not only are you going to be able to exchange scrolls for uni coins, you would also be able to exchange scrolls for other scrolls. So the way this would work is it would be, again, similar to how the uni coins work. There would be like an exchange ratio. So common scrolls would be traded at a 1-to-1 factor. So you can trade 5 common scrolls for another 5 common scrolls. So we'll take, for instance, this is fire spray. Let's say I had 5 fire spray scrolls and I wanted to trade it for 5 ice road scrolls. I would be able to do that because it's a 1-to-1 ratio. It's common for common. And likewise, for rare, it's also 1-to-1, and for epic, it's 1-to-1. So for every 5 rare scrolls, you would get 5 rare scrolls back. For every 5 epic scrolls, you get 5 epic scrolls back. But you would also be able to trade commons for rares and epics and vice versa. So the way that would work is for every for every 5 common scrolls, you would get 1 epic. So because the bare minimum you would be able to trade would be 5, what you would be able to do is trade 25 scrolls. So for instance, I have 25 scrolls of Blizzard right here. I would be able to trade this for 5 of, let's say, this one here, a blue, which is Snowball. So it would be 25 to 5. And likewise, it would be, I think, 25 for 1 purple. So let's find a character who has a purple. So Yoji. So I have 26 of this one, Firebeam. I would be able to trade 25 of these and get 1 of these in return, the Pyroblast. So we have all these ideas for different exchange rates. We haven't nailed down exactly what the different rates are going to be, but initially this idea was going to be implemented for guilds specifically. I kind of wanted to expand this, so not only could you trade with other members of your guild, you can trade with all players, period, like anybody. So you don't have to actually invite somebody to your guild to trade with them. You just be able to do it right from the chat. So that's kind of an idea I had. Again, we haven't finalized anything yet. We don't know what the different exchange rates are going to be. And on that note, there was another thing that we were thinking about doing. And that is if you actually look at the different spell levels. Currently, the maximum level for a common spell, so right here you see 5. The max level is actually 9 for a common spell. For rare, which is these blue-tiered ones, the max level is 7. And for epic, which is these purple-tiered ones, the max level for this is 5. So the idea that I have is going to increase all of these to a maximum level of 10. So common, rare, and epic will all be able to be increased to a maximum level of 10. So what will happen is once you completely max out a spell, you're going to start to get kind of, what's the word for it? Like doubles. You're going to get more, you're going to keep receiving scrolls for that spell even though you've already maxed out that particular spell. So these are going to be leftovers that you're not going to have anything to do with. So these are going to be the spells that you're going to be able to trade. So the question becomes, whether or not we want to implement this system in such a way where you'll be able to trade scrolls at any time. So for instance, I have 26 fire spray scrolls right here that I'm not using. They're currently like in my inventory, even though you don't actually have an accessible inventory in game. But the idea is, would you be able to trade these even though you haven't already maxed out your spell? Or do we want to reserve this trading system to the end game, so you have to have at least max this out at level 10, and then you can only trade the leftovers? So this is another thing that we're kind of discussing and debating behind the scenes, and we really want to get your players' feedback on this one, because this is actually very important. Because what will happen is, if you're allowed to trade scrolls at any given time, as long as they're in your inventory, before actually maxing out that spell, what could potentially happen is, let's say a new player only has the first 3 characters, which would be Yoji, Akia, and Morth. So they would have all the other characters not unlocked. So for instance, I don't have Dwar unlocked. I have all these different scrolls right here that I'm not currently using. What you would potentially be able to do is trade all these different scrolls, because you don't have that character unlocked, so you don't really need these scrolls, for scrolls for characters that you do have unlocked. And what that could potentially do is allow you to max out that character much quicker. So for instance, if I were able to transfer all of these different scrolls, so let's say Dwar, Lane, Isna, Neri, and Forga, if I can transfer all of these scrolls that I've collected over the time that I've been playing and funnel them into a single 1 or 2 different characters, I could probably have that character maxed out right now and have all level 10s. Now that might create kind of an unfair disadvantage for certain players, because of the fact that they would only have this one character that has all their spells level 10, and then the rest of their characters all have spells level 1. So that kind of creates a little bit of an imbalance. So that's why we need your guys' feedback on this to help us decide how we want to actually implement this exchange system. Is it going to be something that's available to you at any given time? Or is it something that's only going to be available to you during the end game, when you've already maxed out a number of spells and now you have leftover? So that's something that we really need your guys' feedback on. So where was I actually going with that? So I was talking about, are you doing any matches? Hold on. Yes, soon. Maybe. Question mark. I'm sorry. I don't know yet. So typically these discussions go for about an hour. But again, if I'm both doing matches and speaking at the same time, I kind of get distracted. I lose my chain of thought. So this new format, what I want to do is talk first, and if I have time later on to do a few matches, I'll do them at the end of the stream. So right now, I just want to get everything that I need to say, more or less finished before we proceed to actually doing matches. So the exchange system. That was initially a feature planned to be guild specific, so unique to guilds. But I kind of want to expand that to be available to everybody. What else did we have here? Set online status. Okay, so this is another one. Currently what happens is, right now, let's say I'm kind of like AFK behind the computer, and maybe I'm off doing something. Maybe I'm washing dishes, maybe I'm eating, doing chores around the house, maybe I'm at work or something, and I just happen to leave my character in-game. Currently what will happen is players will send you like invites, like match invites and stuff, or if you're not a part of a guild, they might send you a guild invite, something like that, and then they might get angry that you're not responding to them, and they might think that you're ignoring them. So one of the things players have been requesting is the ability to set your active status. So you can set it for like away, or do not disturb, or something along that nature. That way players won't be able to send you these different match invites and stuff like that. So they can't get angry that you're ignoring them, because if they try to message you, they will get this message like this player's status is set to away. So likewise, you can see under guild, you can see my own name here. I would be able to right click my own name. I have the option to leave guild, but I would have another option to set online status. So I could set it to away or do not disturb, something like that. That way, when other players try to send me match invites like you've been seeing. So this is what I was trying to say earlier. I almost got distracted and I wanted to bring this up a little bit sooner. Is that I would be able to set my status to away so I don't keep getting spammed with these invites. So that was another thing that I wanted to mention. Now, again, this doesn't have to be a guild-specific feature. This should be something that's available to everybody. What else did we want to do? Increase capacity. So this was another one. We'll go back to profile. Right now you have, I think it's under here, right. So as you level up your guild, you unlock these different bonuses corresponding to your level. So for instance, this guild is level 4, so we have these first two bonuses. The first one's unlocked at level 2, the next one that's at level 4, so the next one after this would be 6. So this would be +5 maximum guild members. So our current maximum guild members is 20. At level 6, it would be 25. A lot of players are complaining that this number isn't high enough, and you should be able to invite more players sooner. And I agree with this. So I actually plan on basically completely redoing this entire feature, this entire function. So first things first, guild levels and bonuses. So the idea here is not only will characters have the option to contribute to the guild through experience, but you would have another option where players would be able to donate Acquium. So you would have like a maximum kind of storage space. So it's similar to our town hall. So my town hall is currently level 6, and I have a maximum storage of 400,000 Acquium. You would have a maximum storage for your guild, and players can donate Acquium to the guild, and donating would also help increase experience or something. So what would you do with this Acquium that's donated to the guild? Well, this Acquium would be able to purchase bonuses. So you would have two different kind of tiers, one for experience for leveling up your guild, and one for bonuses. So right here, as you're leveling up the guild, you would have certain specific bonuses unique to actually leveling up your guild, which could include things like increasing your maximum guild members. So for instance, right now we have level 6, and if we scroll down, so right now the maximum level given right here is 14. So I'm going to assume that the max level for a guild is 20. Personally, I'd like to reduce that down to, let's say, 10. So the max level for a guild would be 10, and we'll say for each bonus, every time you level up your guild, you would get +5 characters. So how would that work out? So you would have 20 initially. If you get a bonus for every time you level up, and there's 10 levels, that would mean by the time you've maxed out your guild, you would have an additional 50 players. So the maximum guild, maximum amount of players per guild would be 70. So that sounds pretty good. That's more than triple what the current rate is. But on top of that, I don't want to just make it increasing the maximum capacity for guild, but there should be other bonuses as well. So for instance, for number 12, we have medium chests and big chests. So these are referring to the daily tasks. So if we go to daily tasks, it's referring to these. It decreases the kind of like a respawn time for these different chests. So once you complete a daily task, you're able to complete that daily task a little bit sooner. So I think 1 hour is a little short. Because I think, especially for this one, I think the current rate is like 6 to 8 hours. So it's pretty long. So 1 hour doesn't really reduce it by that much. So I can come up with different bonuses. Because currently, oh wait, no, that's the wrong one here. Currently, I don't think these bonuses, like 100 plus 100 magic core production and plus 1,000 magic core capacity, that's really not that decent of a bonus. And then plus 10% movement speed on planets. I think this is only referring to free roam. It's not referring to when you actually enter arena. Again, plus 10%. That's such a minuscule amount, and you have to get to level 10 in order to unlock that. So these guild bonuses need to be completely redone. So, but there would be two different type of bonuses. One would be based on guild level, so your experience would contribute to this, and as you level up your guild, you would unlock these bonuses. But the other one would be Acquium based. So another thing players have been complaining about is when you're in the end game, like myself, and you've maxed out the majority of your buildings, as you can see here. I've maxed out just about every building. I only have, I think, fire towers left. So what happens is you have all this Acquium in your reserve and nothing to spend it on. So what you would potentially be able to do is you would be able to donate it to your guild. I keep clicking the wrong thing. So you would have a maximum storage capacity for your guild, and you could donate Acquium, and that Acquium could be spent on buying different bonuses. So the first bonus can be something like 20,000 Acquium, then the next one could be 50,000, and so on and so forth. And this one, unlike the guild level, which I would set at a maximum level of 10, for these Acquium bonuses, I would set this number to be something much higher. So it would probably be like 50 different bonuses. So that number would keep increasing, 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 and as you level up your guild, you would increase the maximum storage capacity for your guild, just like if you increase your town hall, you increase the maximum storage capacity for your Acquium for upgrading buildings. So by the time you reach level 10, maybe your maximum storage capacity for your guild would be something like 1 million. So like the final bonus where you don't unlock, so like I say, it would be like 20,000, 50,000, 75,000, 100,000, blah, blah, blah. Eventually, it would get up to something really crazy like 1 million. So you would always have players actively investing into the guild. So even if they're not going to play arenas or do planet invasions, they would still have some way of contributing to the guild via donating Acquium. So this also gives, an extra kind of thing that you can do with Acquium, because right now you can only invest it in buildings. And once you reach the end game, you kind of run out of things to do with your Acquium. Your Acquium storage is always maxed out, and there's nothing to invest that Acquium in. So this is kind of like, it's like the best of both worlds. It gives you something to spend your Acquium on, and it also unlocks additional bonuses for your guild. So that was another idea I had. Let's check my notes to see what else. New symbols for levels. Okay, so we'll go back in here. You can see guild level 4, there isn't any kind of icon. And actually, I'll talk about these two things at the same time. So right here, you have like a customizable kind of shield banner for your guild. I'd like to give this more options. So the idea here is to use another game sort of as like a reference. There's this game on Conjugate called Game of Thrones Ascent, which also kind of have like these shield banners. And this is based off the show Game of Thrones. So you have these different patterns. Not only do you have different patterns, you also have different colors, and then you have different sigils. So this is how this would work. You would have different patterns. So for instance, right here you see swirls. So you have kind of like a dark brown and orange swirl here. You could have, so this would be one pattern. You could have a pattern where it's like a cross. So you have a line going straight up like this, and then another one going like this. So it divides the shield into 4. You could have one where it's just a line going down the middle, dividing the shield in 2, or a line going across the side, dividing the shield in 2 horizontally. It could have a circle, it could have stripes, it could have, so it could be pinstripes going vertically or horizontally. You would have all these different patterns you can choose from. Then you could also choose the colors. So for instance, here you have like brown and orange, sort of, what's the word for it? Not interlocking, but they're switching. So you got brown, orange, brown, orange. So you would be able to choose your color scheme. So you could do like black and white, red and blue, whatever. So you would be able to choose the different colors so let's say if you had a shield that was divided into 4, you could have one corner red, one corner blue, one corner green, one corner yellow or something. And then on top of that, you would be able to choose like a sigil. So the way the sigil would work is kind of like how you have these badges here, which is a circle with some kind of, symbol or character in the center. Your sigil would function much in the same way. So what would happen is you would be able to pick a picture and it would be centered on your shield with kind of like a circle around it. And likewise, you would be able to choose the color scheme for it. So you could have like the background of the circle, one color, and then the actual image on the in the center, a different color. So we can go to profile, for instance, and let's say we use this skull, for example. You could have the skull white and then the background black. So you have these two different tiers. So you would be able to have a lot more customization options for your actual guild banners. So that's one idea. The next idea is right here. It just says guild level 4, and there's no kind of badge or icon here. So if we actually go to, no, not achievements, leaderboards, and then go guilds. Right here, you have a gold diamond, silver diamond, and bronze diamond, but these are only for the top 3 guilds. next to them you see the actual guild banner and the level of the guild here in this little hexagon shape. So my idea is these little icons right here that indicates the level of your guild will actually change as you level up. So when you get to level 10, it'll be 10 and it'll be a star surrounding it and it'll be a different color. So it might go from like green to blue to like purple to red to yellow to orange, something like that, to pink. You'd have all these different colors. So each level would correspond to a different color and maybe a different shape, or maybe you would even be able to customize these things. So maybe you want a square, a circle, a star. You would have, so this would add another level of customization, or maybe you would just tie it with, like I said, specific guild level where once you get to level 10, it's like a star. So you would be, 10, a star, maybe the star would be golden or something. So again, it just adds a little bit, an extra level of polish, and if we give players the option to customize this, it's just another level of customization. So what else did I actually have for you? Oh, Guild Base and World. So Planet Edit is actually coming out next week, guys. Look forward to that. So it's coming out in the very near future. So you're actually going to be able to reconfigure and customize your planet. You're going to be able to move, let's say, the house. So I'll select house here, and you're going to be able to move this kind of like anywhere you want. You're going to be able to move the walls and just set up your defenses in more unique ways than you're currently allowed to do now. So the idea here is a lot of players have been asking for a guild planet where you can potentially set up your planet for guild-to-guild invasions. And this goes into a much larger topic. Oop, I just hit my mic. I'm sorry about that. I hope I didn't get any like feedback on that. So by hitting the mic, I mean. So the idea here is it feeds into a much larger topic about what I like to call real-time strategy feature, so RTS for short. The idea, essentially, I've had this idea for a long time for kind of redoing invasions. So we're actually going to be implementing team invasions next week as well. So Planet Edit and team invasions are coming next week. So make sure to stay tuned for that. But the idea that I had is, see how you have your base here and you have this kind of road that goes down to this little spawn point? Essentially what would happen is you would have like a customizable cell. And this cell would be kind of maybe either hexagonal shape or maybe a rectangle. And what would happen is your base would appear here, and maybe the opponent's base would appear somewhere around here, and the spawn point would be like the middle point. So what would happen is, as you have your ships and houses that spawn the enemies, or your little minions, so like these guys. So as you're spawning at your base, you would actually spawn right here in this little triangle in front of your town hall. So this would be your spawn point, and you would move to here. This would be like the middle ground. So you would be able to set up your own defenses in this space here. So everything before this middle part is where you can set up things like fire towers, mortars, and stuff of that nature. And in fact, later on, we're discussing introducing things like traps. So it would be invisible to the enemy, but obviously it would be visible to you when you place it on your planet. So you could potentially put it right here on the road. So when a player, an opponent walks over it, it would set off the trap, and it could do things like stun the enemy for a couple of seconds, maybe inflict them with like a status like slow or poison or something like that. So traps might be something we might implement in the future, but you would be able to set that up in your space here. And after this line here, so this would be like the center, all this would be where your opponents are allowed to set up, their defenses. So well, this is probably not, because the planet is kind of too small, but this would be like a new arena. So you would have one base on one side, another base on the other. You'd be able to set up your defenses, and then in the center is kind of like the line where you can't place defenses on your opponent's side, obviously. So what would happen is this idea was initially for invasions. So it could be one-on-one invasions, or it could be 3-on-3, whatever. But if we were able to do this, it would be, once that feature was put in place, it would be very easy to implement that into a guild feature. So then you can have guild wars. So guilds would be able to actually customize their own planet and defenses and stuff. They will be able to spawn maybe 3 at a time, or maybe we can increase it to like 5 at a time. And then what you could potentially do is kind of like the regular Bang Bang Arena. Maybe you have different checkpoints that you can capture. So maybe you have one in the center, maybe you want to have one off on the side. There's all different things you can add in order to increase the length of the matches and give you different objectives. So it doesn't necessarily have to be go and defeat the opponent's base. It could be like capture checkpoints and spawn kind of like goblins, like in the regular Bang Bang Arena. There's all different types of things that you can actually do with that. So a lot of players have been asking to actually make some kind of guild world that you can edit for the purpose of having, guild versus guild battles. And another thing that to kind of go back for a minute, when I was talking before about how you could potentially have this ability to donate Acquium, and the Acquium could be used to unlock bonuses. The Acquium could also be used to upgrade buildings in your guild world and upgrade defenses and build defenses and stuff like that. So that would be another purpose that you could potentially do with invested Acquium. So, all the members of the guild would be able to invest Acquium, and then again, you could build more buildings, upgrade buildings, and similar to how you have to upgrade like the town hall in order to increase the maximum level for these other buildings. So for instance, if I had a town hall level of 5, I can only upgrade the mine to a maximum level of 5. In order to upgrade it to 6, I have to first upgrade the town hall to 6. So you would have all these different military buildings. So maybe you have one called barracks, and you have to increase barracks before you can increase something like houses, and in order to increase the amount of troops that can be produced at a single time. So maybe at level 1, you can only produce 1 troop every 30 seconds. At level 2, maybe you can produce 1 troop every 20 seconds. At level 3, maybe you can produce 2 troops every 30 seconds. So it would work something like that. So you would be able to increase the maximum amount of troops and also reducing the spawn times. So again, this is something that would become available to you if you can invest Acquium into your guilds. And then likewise, back to the guild permissions topic that we discussed earlier, doing things like upgrading the different buildings and setting up the defenses, that would be something that's left up to like the guild leader. And maybe he can set permissions so like the second in command can also edit the guild world as well. So like I said, World Edit is going to be coming out next week. So we'll kind of have to see how things go with that before we can actually look into the future and see about how technically difficult it would be to actually implement a feature like this. So what else do we have? Guild Trade, I already talked about that. So next week update, I already talked about how we're actually going to be implementing guild or team invades and planet edit. So what else do we have? Oh, Lamia is going to be released next week, so look forward to that. We wanted to have her done by Halloween. She's going to be released a week later. Sorry about that, guys. It's just, again, we're working on so many different things. One of the things we have to focus on is on bug reports. So there's been a lot of issues lately with buildings not upgrading, particularly mines. I can't tell you how many different forum threads have been starting about people trying to upgrade their mines to like level 5 or 6 or something, and the timer just being stuck and not counting down, or the timer resetting. So there's been a lot of bug fixes and things going behind the scenes. So that's kind of really held back development of new features. So Lamia is going to be released next week, though. What else do we have coming? So when you go to Arena, currently you have the option to choose different arena. There's actually going to be a 4th option that you're going to be able to set to random. So rather than choosing which arena you want to play at, maybe you don't really care, so you'll be able to hit random and it'll automatically choose an arena for you. And the idea with also introducing this random system is because players are going to be able to choose individually, like say Bang Bang Party, Rocket Depot, or Turtle Season, and random will place you in any random one of these. It's also going to enter you into that same lobby. So let's say you choose random. Random isn't going to have its own lobby. So random isn't only going to place you against other people who've chosen random. It's also going to place you, let's say if it places you in Bang Bang Party, it's going to place you in the same lobby as other players who are trying to get into the Bang Bang Arena. If it places you into the Rocket Depot, it's placing you against other players who are also also in the Rocket Depot lobby waiting to play in the Rocket Depot Arena. So the idea here is it's going to hopefully increase the rates in which you encounter other players in the game. So you should be facing off against other players more often, hopefully. So that kind of expands on what I was talking about last week about making certain changes to leagues to try to increase the ratio in which you encounter players. So you're not always playing against bots. So this is one of the things we're implementing to help kind of negate that, to help increase the rate in which you encounter other players. So we're also going to be introducing new daily tasks. So the way this is going to work, so right now, let me get out of this real quick. You can do a certain amount of, like, successfully attack a planet with Neri, and this will open this small chest here, and then you'll get this reward. We're going to be implementing a system where your first arena victory for each character is going to reward you with unicoins. So for instance, let's say I play Bang Bang Party with Yoji. I'm going to get a certain amount of unicoins because it's my first victory for that character for that day. Then I can play as Neri and then win an arena, and because it's the first victory for that character for that day, I also get the reward. So it's going to encourage you to diversify playing as different characters, because you're going to get a reward for playing each individual character for that day. You're going to get a reward in unicorns. What else do we have for you? We're going to be introducing a new skin for Dwar. So right now, most of the characters, if not all the characters, if you go to skins, they have this kind of futuristic cybernetic skin. So you see this one for Yoji, you have this one for Neri, this one for Isna. Just for a quick example, so right here, this one that's currently blocked off. So right now this is Dwar, this is his Halloween skin, and this is his classic skin. This one here is going to be the future one. So it's actually already in the game, but it's not currently unlockable. So this is actually going to be purchasable next week. So you guys who want to play as this kind of almost like a Predator looking guy with all this high-tech weaponry, you're going to be able to do so next week. So what else do we have here? You know what? He actually looks like a little bit like Isaac Clarke from Dead Space a little bit, with that kind of suit of armor. So what else do we have for you? A lot of new kind of features. Like I kind of hit upon this last week about some things we're doing with the balance. So like I had said before, if we go with, let's say Lane, let me get out of skins and go to spells. So which one is it actually? I think it's Storm Run? No, I don't remember which one. But his ability to summon all these boulders could be canceled out by Isna's, let's say, Snowball, for instance. So these giant boulders are going to hit into one another and then cancel out. They'll break, and then neither party will sustain any damage. So we're introducing a whole bunch of different fixes to a kind of game balance. So all these different new abilities are going to be able to cancel one another out. So right now, some of Yoji's abilities can be canceled out by Akia because it's fire and water. So if, let's say, Akia uses water spray and Yoji uses fire spray, these two things kind of cancel out. We're doing this with other characters as well. So that's going to be implemented next week. And a lot of bug fixes, as well as kind of some optimization to this newly implemented feature for the global statistics. And we're going to be awarding players in these top positions either next week or the week after that. So the top 3 or 5, whatever we decide it's going to be, are going to get chests in the mail, or if not chests, maybe it'll be gems or something. But you're going to be getting rewards. So for all of these different categories, the top 1 or 2 or 3, something like that, are actually going to be rewarded. And the idea is this is going to be done bi-weekly, so twice a month. So every mid-month and then at the end of the month. But since yesterday was actually the end of October, it was Halloween, we're going to actually be starting to do this either next week or the week after. So mid-November, and then again end of November. And then once we start getting the cycle kind of going, and we know how we want to actually go about implementing this feature, it's going to be much easier to do down the road in the future. So right now we're just kind of testing things, experimenting a little bit, but you should be seeing these rewards in game sometime in the next few weeks. So what else did I want to talk about? Before I close out the stream, wow, we almost went a full hour already. A couple things I want to talk about for future streams, actually. I mentioned this probably about a month ago. What I want to do is start kind of showcasing different fan art submissions. I want to do a segment called Play of the Week. So I want you guys to send your in-game. So if you have like, what's the one, Fraps, or you have OBS or something like that, in-game recording device. So you can record your actual in-game plays and then send it to us. I want to start doing like a play of the week to showcase. Maybe you win an arena in like a very quick amount of time, or maybe you get like 10 kills in a single game or something like that. This is the type of stuff that we kind of want to see. And I'm going to actually be playing this in the weekly discussion podcasts. So we want to kind of have these different things to spotlight the players. So we want to have like this whole segment to kind of just spotlight the different player submissions. So like I said, fan art, in-game player submissions, stuff like that. So we actually got our very first player submission from a forum user named Cloud Senpai. So this is a shout out to you. So hopefully next week I'm going to experiment with this to try to see how I can actually play this on the stream. So they sent us this very quick, I think it was, which arena mode was it? I think it was Turtle Season, so capture the flag, and they did it in under like 2 minutes or something. So they were able to complete an arena in like record time. So I'm going to be showcasing that hopefully next week's podcast, and I want to make this a habit. I want to start doing this for every podcast. So we want to see fan art submissions, video submissions, anything that you have for us, and I'll be able to use this as a way of kind of turning the spotlight back on the players, and it's a way of kind of like showing our appreciation and thanks for your players for being so committed to the game and loyal. And on that note, another thing I want to do for future podcasts as well is I actually want to start inviting players on to participate in these discussions. So instead of just watching me talk to myself for an hour, I actually want to engage in players and kind of get their feedback live on these podcasts. So again, this is something that we kind of have to figure out how we're going to set up. So maybe it would be over Skype or something. I'm not entirely sure. So it doesn't even have to be one player. Maybe we can get like 3 to 5 players on, and we can take turns talking about these different subjects. Again, it's just another way of increasing player activity, player involvement and retention to get you guys involved. So that's the idea, and hopefully it should make the podcast not only more entertaining, but also more fun to participate in, and it could be something that you guys really look forward to doing. So these are all things that I plan on doing on the future. I don't know how soon I'll be able to work out these things, so it might not be next podcast. It might be 2 or 3 podcasts from now. But if you guys want to appear on the podcast and actually contribute to the discussion, go ahead and let me know. On that note, also, last week's podcast discussion, which was based on leagues, like I said at the end of last week's video, that all these weekly discussions are going to be kind of posted on the forum so we can continue the discussion. Because again, we want your players' feedback before we implement these things, because maybe some of these ideas you like, some of them you don't like. Sometimes you have better ideas or better ways of implementing these features. So we want to get your feedback before we, do anything that, might make some players angry. So again, so we post these things to our discussion forum. So you can find last week's weekly podcast on the forum under discussions. That's at the very top of the forum. So if you want to contribute to the discussion on leagues, that's where you can find the relevant topic. And likewise, this stream after this is done is also going to be placed in the same place. So if you want to give feedback on what you think about these different guild features, whether or not you like them or you don't like them, if you have your own ideas, maybe you have ways of better implementing these features, all that is going to be found in the forum. So make sure to go and check out our forum. It's at the very top. I think the top two is bug fixes and bug reports and discussions. So it's at the tippy top. You can't miss it. That's where this is actually going to be going, so you can actually contribute to the discussion. Let us know what you guys think. And likewise, that's where I want you guys to tell me whether or not you actually want to participate in the podcast itself. So if you want to come on the live stream and, maybe we do it over Skype or something, if you guys actually want to participate. So I want you guys to let me know. And once I get, a decent amount of players, so maybe like 1 to 3 or something, then we'll start to organize a way in which it best works out for everybody's schedule. So look forward to that. And I think that might do it, actually. Do I have anything else? No, I think I hit all the topics. I can't believe that took a whole hour. I thought that was going to take 30 minutes, and then the other half would be actual, setting up matches and playing. But that took a full hour, so I'm actually pretty impressed. I can't believe that I had that much to say about guilds. But guilds is something that, a lot of players are very passionate about. When I'm on the forums moderating the different suggestions that players are making, guilds is like the number one topic that it seems to be the number one thing that players want to see the most features added to right now, at least. So another one was like Planet Edit, but again, we're going to be actually implementing that next week. But guilds is like the hot topic right now, which is why I wanted to do this more or less immediately. So the first week was leagues, this week was guilds. Next week, I think it's going to be kind of like a grab bag of different ideas. I might not just focus on one topic. It might be several different topics. I'm not entirely sure. And actually, let me know what you guys think. When I post this to the forum, if you have your own ideas for what you want to talk about, post it in that forum thread, and I'll look it over, and maybe I'll make a whole weekly topic discussion just based on your player suggestion. So if I don't get enough feedback and responses, I think, again, I'll make it like a grab bag type of deal, where maybe I select a bunch of smaller issues and I talk about 10 different things, instead of just focusing on like one big thing. So we'll just kind of have to figure out and see where it goes. But I think that'll about do it for today's podcast. So let me try to end it out off on a high note. So you guys sat here and watched me talk for an hour without any actual gameplay. So let's try to do something here. Give you guys a little send-off. Oh, there's Yoji. Can I make... No, I wish. I was going to say, can I make them both dance at the same time? How awesome would that be? So we'll kind of zoom here on Isna. And what about a better way to end your podcast than with this? So I'd like to thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for next week. Like I said, lots of updates coming out next week. If you enjoyed this video and when it gets uploaded to YouTube, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Check out the other videos on this channel and make sure to do the same. If you want to help support the game, make sure to check out the Steam store where we're selling the Founders Pack. We're going to be eventually introducing more packs, so there's going to be more content found on Steam. I can't promise how soon that you're going to be able to expect that, but hopefully by like Christmas. Also, if you want to donate to the Patreon, we would very much appreciate it. Your generosity definitely helps us, especially in these early stages of development. It really helps us be able to release more features much more quickly. And likewise, I actually made a mistake, so I actually have to make a correction here. Last week I said Glare was our very first patron on Patreon, but I got Glare's name wrong. So I'll actually go on my friends list. So it's, let's see if I get it, Glare163. So thank you very much, Glare163, for being our very first patron on Patreon. If you meet a certain donation goal, you unlock a unique badge, which I think this is the badge here, as Glare has displayed. We're going to be adding more rewards to the Patreon in the future. Right now, the stuff that you see there is mostly tied to the same rewards that you would get for just buying these different gem packs. So the $2 reward is the 500 gem pack, and so on and so forth. But we're going to be adding more unique rewards in the future. So again, I'd like to thank Lair for being a first patron on Patreon. We very much appreciate it, guys. Again, the more you invest, the quicker we can release more features. And, who knows, in a couple of months, we might be able to introduce things like guild invasions or guild wars, boss mode, stuff like this. The features that you guys really want to see. But these things take time and obviously money. So again, the more you invest, the quicker we can get these things done. Again, I'd like to thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned to next week when we're going to be discussing maybe a whole bunch of different things, unless I can get enough responses in the forum thread, and in which case I'll pick what you guys wanted to talk about first. So, again, thank you, and I hope everybody has a very uniful day. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all later.